I couldn't believe the nerve of them. One morning, I walked out to the usual cool mountain air, the scent of pine needles and damp earth thick in the mist, only to find my main route blocked by a newly installed, ridiculous wrought iron gate. The Highlands Homeowners Association, HOA, spearheaded by the neighborhood dictator Patrice, had just declared the bridge linking my property to the main road, HOA private property, effectively cutting me off. Are they serious? My blood immediately started to boil. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a declaration of war. I slammed the truck door shut, the noise echoing sharply in the quiet canyon. Just yesterday, Patrice had sent me a smug, typed-up notice about reclaiming communal infrastructure and citing some obscure bylaw, but I dismissed it as typical homeowners association chest-puffing. Now, seeing the heavy black metal and the cold, unblinking surveillance camera pointed right at my driveway, the reality hit. This bridge, a simple wooden span over the gurgling creek that had been there since my grandfather's time, was my only reliable access point. The alternative route was a treacherous, rutted fire trail that added 30 minutes to my commute and felt like driving over loose gravel. How could they do this without a hearing, without a vote? The injustice of it made my jaw tight. I stood there, listening to the rhythmic, distant whine of a chainsaw from the construction crew finishing up the gate, and felt a wave of hopeless frustration wash over me. I sighed, a long, ragged exhale that did nothing to calm my shaking hands. I drove the long way around and headed straight for the Homeowners Association office, which was really just Patrice's oversized sunroom. When I arrived, she was sitting behind a large mahogany desk, sipping iced tea and radiating an aura of entitled smugness. She didn't even look up until I cleared my throat. Hard. "Mr. Harrison," she drawled, placing her glass down with exaggerated care. "I see you received our notice. The bridge is now restricted to contributing members." Her voice was pure silk and razor blades. I leaned my palms flat on her desk, trying to keep my voice even. "Patrice, I contribute my dues just like everyone else, and that bridge has always been part of my easement. It's been that way for 70 years. I tried to appeal to reason. She smiled, a tight, condescending little twitch. "An old easement, perhaps. We had the property resurveyed. Turns out, your property line stops precisely at the edge of the creek. The bridge, as a full structure, rests entirely on the HOA's common property." She slid a glossy binder across the desk. I flipped through the pages. Crisp photos of a perfectly positioned survey stake, a legal opinion stamped by a firm I'd never heard of. It felt incredibly calculated, a coordinated attack. Who hired that firm? And how much did this petty feud cost them? I fought the urge to grab the binder and toss it into her expensive potted fern. "You're using this bridge, every one of you, to access the upper community, including your house, Patrice," I pointed out, my voice rising. "If you cut off my access, you cut off yours too." "Oh no," she corrected, her eyes twinkling with malicious delight. "We have the new access road planned. It'll open next month. Until then, we are happy to let our community members use the bridge, with keycard access, of course. For you, you get the fire trail." She paused, letting the silence stretch before adding, "Perhaps you should consider selling, Mr. Harrison. Your home is quite isolated now, isn't it?" That was the side twist. They weren't just punishing me. They were trying to devalue my property so they could buy up my land cheaply for future community expansion. The thought of losing my family home because of this petty tyrant's ego sent a bolt of cold, clear resolve through me. I didn't say another word. I just nodded, picked up her binder, and walked out, ignoring her confused, sputtering, "Wait! You can't take that!" That night I couldn't sleep. The air in my bedroom felt heavy, suffocating. I kept seeing the image of that ridiculous gate. I spent hours staring at the survey maps Patrice had so foolishly given me. As the first pale light of dawn crept through the curtains, bathing the papers in a silvery glow, I saw it, a tiny, almost imperceptible smudge on the plat map. The new survey was based on a 1950s deed description that mentioned the land south of the creek's main flow. But my grandfather, a meticulous man who distrusted legal jargon, had also left behind a meticulously drawn map included in the original property sale. His map showed a small, forgotten parcel of land, a triangle of about half an acre on the north bank of the creek, right where the bridge's northern approach met the main road. It had been missed in every subsequent sale and survey, registered simply as a small, separate utility parcel in my family's name, intended to ensure access to a long-abandoned well. Was this possible? Could they have made such a massive mistake? I hired my own surveyor and a real estate attorney immediately. 2 weeks of frantic research, dusty courthouse visits, and expensive hourly rates later, the results came in. The old utility parcel was legally mine. The northern 6 feet of the bridge approach, the essential connection to the main homeowners association road, sat squarely on Harrison family land. The final confrontation was cinematic. I didn't bother with Patrice. I went straight to the county sheriff's office with my attorney and the notarized survey. We met them at the bridge. Patrice, alerted by her surveillance camera, arrived 5 minutes later, speeding around the fire trail, her tires spitting gravel. She burst out of her Lexus, hair slightly askew, and immediately started yelling. "What is the meaning of this? You are trespassing. Call the police." The sheriff, a large, calm man named Deputy Miller, looked at her over his sunglasses. "Ma'am, I am the police. Mr. Harrison here has presented a valid deed and survey. The northern access to the structure is legally on his private property. The HOA's gate is, ironically, partially on his land." Patrice's face went from indignant red to a sickly, mottled white. "Impossible. I had it surveyed. Get your men off my property." I stepped forward, savoring the moment. I handed the sheriff a new sign I'd had specially made. "Deputy, I am exercising my right as the private property owner of that 6-foot strip. I am immediately revoking the implied easement for access to my land." Patrice pointed a shaking finger at me. "You can't do that. That means we can't get our trucks in to build the new road. And half the residents use this bridge." I looked her dead in the eye, finally letting the tight knot of rage unravel into sweet, cold satisfaction. "It seems, Patrice, that by cutting off my main access, you inadvertently left me the perfect 6-foot-wide legal loophole to cut off yours. You wanted the bridge? You got it. It's now the finest, most exclusive pedestrian path in the county, but it's a dead end." Deputy Miller gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. My construction crew, who had been waiting patiently down the road, arrived, not with lumber, but with concrete barriers. Within the hour, the northern approach, the 6 feet of my property, was completely sealed off from the main road. The HOA's expensive wrought iron gate now opened to an unpassable wall of gray concrete. The irony was palpable. The majority of the Highlands community, including Patrice and her homeowners association cronies, were now forced to use the very treacherous fire trail they had condemned me to. Oh, the sweet, beautiful sound of karma. Patrice was practically sputtering, tears of pure, furious rage streaming down her face. She screamed something about lawsuits, but the sheriff gently led her back to her vehicle, stating calmly, "The deed is the deed, ma'am. You created this issue, and the law says Mr. Harrison is within his rights." As she sped away, her tires kicking up the dust from the miserable trail, I stood there, watching my property line finally truly defended. Justice isn't always swift, but when it arrives, delivered in concrete and sanctioned by the sheriff, it is undeniably sweet. Let this be a lesson to all the petty tyrants out there. Before you try to strand someone, make absolutely sure you aren't stranding yourself in the process. Now, who wants to see me build a gazebo on my new creekside property?